Hello and welcome to another episode of Film Freakz with a Z, the podcast all about movies with a Z. Cause, I guess we're not too edgy anymore, but we're still edgy at heart, I think. This is the podcast about movies, of course. We talk about one movie each episode. Today's episode is brought to you by Gaia Legend, who was a part of our fan vote. Of course, I'll introduce the movie a little bit later, but first, let's introduce ourselves. I am YemmytheFerret, a.k.a. Yemmy. Who am I here with?
Hello, it is me, Greedy Waffle, aka Nick.
Daymation.
And Coco Game.
How is everyone doing today? Hope you all brought your mittens for the fire.
Yes, pretty good.
Not bad.
What fire?
The fire that's burning in the passion in our souls.
Okay.
For
I thought maybe it
movies.
was from the hot mic.
Well, it's it's also from the hot
Mike's
mic,
on
too.
fire. F1.
So, guys, we got a movie recommended to us by a listener of the podcast. The movie was called The Thing from 1982. It was directed by, of course, John Carpenter. Now, this was his second movie, right? Because Evil Dead was his first. Can someone confirm that for me?
Well, he didn't do Evil Dead at all.
He didn't do Evil Dead? He did. Oh,
No.
maybe he... Oh, I'm getting confused with someone else. He did... Carpenter. He did the Escape from New York and Escape from L.A. Not Evil Dead. He did Halloween. That's what I'm getting confused with. Halloween.
Yes, he
But
did Halloween. That's right.
This actually is his third movie. So, misinformation there spewing out of my ass. Anyways, what is this movie about? In remote Antarctica, a group of American research scientists are disturbed at their base camp by a helicopter shooting at a sled dog. When they take in the dog, it brutally attacks both human beings and canines in the camp, and they discover that the beast can assume the shape of its victims. A resourceful helicopter pilot and the camp doctor lead the camp crew in a desperate, gory battle against the vicious creature before it picks them all off one by one. Some of the main actors actually there's no actresses in this one, just actors in this one are Kurt Russell, Wilford Brimley, T.K. Carter, David Clennon, Keith David, Richard Dysart, Charles Hallahan, Peter Maloney, Richard Mauser, and Donald Moffat, to name a few. Of course, there's more people. So the place that I wanted to start off with this one, of course, was the special effects and CG work in this movie.
There was no CG.
There was a little bit, actually.
Was there?
Yes,
I
sir.
thought it was all practical.
There are mouths that come out of. There was like, yeah, because for some sections there was like that mouth that kind of came out like a snake. That was definitely CG work.
No, that was like, I think, claymation.
Look it up.
I'm looking it up right now. I was like pretty sure there was no CG. Because CGI didn't exist in 1982.
Well, as you guys look that up, I feel like that synopsis actually kind of like spoils that whole movie. I mean, I don't know. If I would have read that movie in the beginning, like before watching the movie, I would have been like, oh, the dog is the alien. You know, like, I wouldn't have felt as bad as I did, because I was like, when I originally watched the movie, I was like, oh no, don't shoot at the dog. The dog's innocent. Why are they shooting at the dog?
You're...
No, that it could be.
First, I thought they were trying to trank the dog. I thought it was just an escape dog, and I didn't realize they were part of a different expedition or whatever.
But I was like, no, run, puppy, run! Don't get shot. Yeah, but I can read that synopsis. Was it probably a little too revealing? Could just say it's like, what happens next? Who knows? Or something like that. Or some mysterious foe appears, or I don't know. I don't like that.
Well, maybe how the person, I mean, the website wrote this was because they I mean, it's how many years old? Like,
Yeah, it's true. It's pretty old. So even if someone saw the synopsis, they'd probably forget about it anyway.
Pretty old. The movie's not that old. It's only 3 years older than me.
well,
Yeah, you're old.
You're old. Well, Tay, I have sad news for you.
I'm not old. You guys are just young.
It's 20. The movie's almost 2 decades old, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm
Yes,
22.
it is.
So
It's not
yeah.
that old.
Well, I mean, technically, compared to 2020, it's now it's called a classic.
Yes, there you go. I'm
Yes.
classic. You guys are just newbies.
It's aged like fine wine.
Mm-hmm.
Well, anyways, going back to the CG, which
Yeah.
didn't exist. There were stuff in there that I thought was CG because it was so well done, I guess.
Yeah.
It-
No,
it-
like I said, it was practical effects and CGI, or not CGI, and claymation.
You said
I did say CGI, but I meant claymation.
It's the Minecraft from last episode instead of Minecraft. But for the 1980s, the practical effects were pretty good. I think that there were just a few things that I could nitpick, like the dogs. Like when one of the dogs was like tangled up in the tentacles and it was shot and had a squib on it. It looked fake as hell. Looked like a puppet dog being shot.
Yeah.
But everything else I think was really, really well done. I mean, like I said, you could nitpick it if you want to, but
Yeah.
I think it moves. It's not like, I don't know what I'm trying to say here. It's not so important that it or it's not like so obvious that it ruins the movie for me, right? It's nothing that's like so terrible. It's still actually pretty good CG. I'm not CG. It's still pretty good special effects. Compared to like 2011's The Thing movie, which I didn't watch it recently, but I did watch it a while back. But I still remember like the 2011 CGI work on it was actually worse than the practical effects that were used in the 1982 The Thing that we're talking about right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I felt like it was the right tone for the year the movie came out in '82. I mean, I
What do you
I
mean
don't
by
know.
tone?
I didn't go like I didn't expect CG to come in and be like all take over the movie. What I mean by that is like everything felt like robotic, like everything was like puppet work almost. Like when every time the monster came out. I mean, but that's how I was expecting the movie. So maybe it's just the way I was heading into it. Maybe the way I was expecting it. I mean, you saying CG was in there. I'm like, no, I didn't. I don't recall a part where it stood out to me. I'm like, oh my god, that is so much CGI or CG. But like you said, you could tell when there was puppet moments in that whatnot. But I don't know. I mean, I thought for the year the movie came out, it was that that era of movies to come out. You know what I mean?
Kind of.
Kind of. No. No.
Yeah, I'm not getting what you're saying. I mean, like I said, I do think that the special effects work is really, really good. And I think it's actually probably better than most of the things you would see in the 80s. There's so much detail put on everything, including like the head that came off the one dude who was who ate the doctor's hands off. Like, yeah, you could tell it was a puppet, obviously, but it was still like so detailed and so well done that I bet back in the 80s that was mind blowing, especially early 80s. Like that was probably
exactly.
like people getting out of their seats screaming, So I think that
I would.
well,
Or
yeah,
anybody that owns a husky right now. I mean, if I own a husky, I'll be like, "What are you doing?"
You the thing? Answer me.
well, just think if this movie was made by like let's say Disney or something like that, I bet that dog would have been CG. you know,
probably.
like
So,
there's such a
find-
heavy reliance on CG nowadays, and it's like
Oh, yeah.
the dog, like you can actually train dogs to do things. It's not like they won't do it. Harrison
So I
Ford.
did find the information. So the first first CGI human character was actually used in 1981 in the film called The Looker. There's only 3 films in 1982 that use CGI though. The Works, Star Trek II, Wrath of Khan, and Tron.
Oh
Okay,
yeah.
so-
Well, yeah, I can Tron. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So there was CG around, it just wasn't used in this movie. But like I said,
Yeah.
there was a few scenes where it kind of looked like it was, but like it probably was that
Yeah.
clay work that you were talking about, Take, because
But
it did.
the only
Look,
time I could see like a CG moment coming in is when like you saw the monster's tentacles to go like towards I want to say Blair, or the first guy to go where he got where the guy was laying on the table, he was under the bag, and he was like looking out a window or something. I don't know. And then you saw his little tentacle come out of the the bag, and then it goes towards him. Like, but then again, that could be claymation. I don't know.
Yeah. Like, you probably could. Maybe they didn't have the budget for it, because probably CG was expensive during that time too.
well, yeah. Also, it's probably more practical to use practical effects. For what he envisioned.
For what the film, they're doing. Yeah, they'll be.
I'm trying to look up the budget for it because I know it was a smaller budget.
Yeah,
It
for
was,
a small budget movie, they did good work.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
the film's budget was 15 million, so I guess it wasn't like so small that they couldn't work with that. But you understand? I mean, you can see where the money went, though. Like
exactly.
There are so many different like puppetry and stuff like that they had to design for this movie. Like not like they had to probably they had to like literally like make like 3 different suits for the one guy because there was so much going on with him in general.
Okay, so I do want to correct myself because
Uh-oh.
I don't want people to come at me or anything. So those 3 films from '82 that I know, they might be the only films. Those are the 3 noteworthy films using CGI in '82. So there might have been some other like minor ones that use some basic CGI. I don't know.
Now we're gonna get 40 comments like, no, there's this movie in it. There's this
Exactly. I don't want them coming at me.
Good
There
or
might have
bad,
been
I'd
other
accept 40
movies.
comments. That's
That's true. Come at me then. Sure.
yeah,
Let's
go,
do this.
go at him.
It's fight.
I don't know. I don't think that like it's hard for me to believe that like especially at this time that there would be a lot of indie movies or lower budget movies using CG because even man, like it's a new technology. It probably takes people days, months to work on the movies that they did work on during this time. Like that probably would probably raise it by at least 10 million more.
Yeah.
Well, how long do you think it took to train that dog to run across Antarctica? Running away from a helicopter.
Not very long.
Yeah, it probably wouldn't take too long. I mean, dogs are smart,
Yeah.
I mean,
2 weeks, maybe something like that.
Yeah.
To get like perfectly lined up or something.
No, Nick, I think you're discrediting dog actors in general.
Yeah.
You can train them to do a lot more than you can do like a cat or something like that.
Well, yeah.
Oh, now you're just discrediting cats.
No,
Cats
no,
can do
it's
a lot
actually
too.
it's actually
But
fact.
dogs,
It's actually
dogs do more than cats. Cats
Yeah.
can be trained, but dogs are easier to train. And like my wife knows all about this, like the cognitive stuff. But I think like they pretty much dogs have the mental capacity of like a 3-year-old or a 2-year-old, something like that, and cats are just slightly below that.
But the thing is, like, you can actually coax a dog to do something, whereas a cat, it's like
Me.
there's a lot of movies that actually started off trying to use a cat actor or whatever, and they switched over to a CGI cat because they couldn't get the cat to do what they want. You don't hear that a lot with dogs. Dogs are very trainable. They'll do what you want to do, and if you have a well-trained dog, you're golden. Having a dog run across the Antarctic takes
easy.
like a day, just to get the shot and move on, So I think Nick, you're really discrediting dog actors. I'm gonna stand up for them.
Yeah, I'll say they probably didn't do any training for that dog. All the training happened before this, probably, and they were probably in other movies before this one.
Yeah,
Probably.
but I think it does take a lot of work to train a dog, of course. But I think if you have the right mindset and you have the right tools, I think it's you can do anything. And obviously, like Tay said, this dog was probably trained before this. This is why they hired on the dog and the person who trained him.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we trained for a while. We were training a service dog. We don't have any more. It passed, and now actually is a service dog for somebody in Colorado. But it was interesting to see that, and like how easy, like how quickly they pick shit up, and they're very smart. But I think this is all beyond the besides the point. I don't know if we need to talk about dog actors.
Yeah, I feel like the dog was
Yeah.
the dog was a big part of the movie for about 10 or 15 minutes in, but after that, it, once it transformed, it all the dogs are pretty much gone after that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the movie says it only took 12 weeks to film, so I
Well,
guess so.
you have one location,
Yeah.
It takes a few days, obviously, and retakes and stuff like that. Of course, there was the other station too, but they barely went back and forth between the two, and they probably filmed like all of the second station stuff in like one go because it was the same actors and the same location and the same stuff,
Yeah, exactly.
So I think they really used this. Sorry, Tay. They really used the space well, and they really used the set well because I bet that location is about half the size that they made it look or feel in the movie.
Yeah,
which is pretty cool.
Well, I bet you most of the indoor stuff was a set. It was probably not anywhere outdoors or anything. Hell, the outdoor stuff might have been out in a set. Who knows?
Yeah.
I don't. Well, we could probably look it up. I don't know if that was actually shot in Antarctica. I was thinking when I first saw it, I was like, they're like Antarctica, or maybe Montana. That might be a little easier to film than Antarctica.
Yeah, they probably filmed it somewhere other than Antarctica because Antarctica, like they said, like it goes down to like 40 below.
Yeah.
It's probably way harder to get like everything shipped out there too, and power and generators and stuff. Because I mean, Antarctica even at that time was unbearable. Like I don't think they really were doing much with Antarctica until more recently because of just how brutal it is out there.
Exactly. What'd you guys think of the shots that like how they moved the what word am I looking for here? The camera shots of the scenes.
The cinematography.
Cinematography. Thank you. Because I thought it was actually pretty well done, surprisingly.
Oh yeah, I think that this movie is incredibly well shot. It doesn't. There's not so many cuts that you're getting annoyed by them, like Bohemian Rhapsody. But it was very good camera shots. I'll agree with that.
Yeah, no, I mean there's a reason this movie is a classic. It was filmed well, the effects hold up. I mean, yeah, they're a little janky, but by today's standards, I guess. But it's a good story. It holds up. It's a good movie. And I found out it was filmed in Alaska and British Columbia.
Wow.
And then sets in Los Angeles.
Still, I mean, well, okay, so Alaska is still pretty brutal, but
But I can't pronounce Juneau or whatever, Alaska, which is southern Alaska.
Yeah.
So, which is still bad. But it's
better.
Yeah.
But it's not Antarctica cold or the Arctic cold.
Yeah, I thought that this movie was really well written. Like it started off with, you kind of, go right into the action. It doesn't waste time establishing every person's personalities and character traits. It doesn't take long to establish the threat, and it doesn't take long to establish the tension, the tone of the movie. It from pretty much from the get go. It's like whoosh, goes, everything kind of starts happening, and that's what I really liked about the movie because I wasn't like bored at any parts. Like I was invested in the movie. I could feel the tension. You had a little anxiety while trying to figure out who was really the monster or not. And there's just so many scenes that are well written because it's like it really encapsulates how people probably would really feel. Especially while he's testing the blood with the hot wire.
Oh yeah,
like that was probably one of the most intense scenes, and it actually got me with the scare too.
Yeah, it got me too. I knew.
Everything was so subtle, everyone was so calm because they thought that the one guy, I think Greg was his name, was the monster, and then all of a sudden was like, and like made a loud noise.
Well, they thought the two dead guys were.
No, they thought that
Ready.
No, they thought that the guy who was originally leading the campsite was the guy because he was the only one with access to the blood.
They also thought Clark was because he spent so much time with the dog.
Yeah,
right, but he got shot in the forehead, so.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he had that coming to him. He tried to punch the guy with a gun, and it wasn't really going to work out.
Well, he had a scalpel in his hand.
I still think the guy at the leader is still the monster, but we'll get to that at the end. I'll mention that.
We can discuss our ending theories, of course. But it was like I said, it was a very interesting scene, and I liked how it kind of caught you off guard because you don't think that it's the one guy either because you've kind of seen him through the entire movie, and I think it just does a good job of like having that suspense in there to keep you guessing, even when you think you know. It's like
Yeah, exactly. You think you know who it is? Nope. I'm going to surprise you. Yeah.
So I just saw again. I'm out on the internet a lot today for this episode.
Tay's our correspondent.
Yes. Apparently, when this movie first came out, because of its themes about paranoia and survival under extreme conditions stuff, most people did not like this movie when it first came out.
Oh yeah.
They were just not ready for such experience. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, people probably didn't like the way that it made you feel. Didn't like the overall like. Well, I'm just thinking about it. It's giving me the creeps again.
Yeah. But then it became a cult classic. So.
Well, yeah. Like I said in my review, like this was like one of the first movies, like horror movies that I've watched like this year, past few years that have come out that have actually made me feel like genuinely kind of frightened during the thing. Besides from I think Don't Breathe, like I felt like a good amount of like tension and anxiety in myself while watching the movie because I was so interested in it. But there's not many horror movies. Like most horror movies nowadays, you know how they go. You know, it's a jump scare every 3 seconds. Yeah. It's a bunch loud of CG and stuff like that. Loud noises. Yep, when there doesn't need to be a loud noise. And yeah, this one is very, very effective. And I think that it's definitely one of my favorite horror movies now. Kind of like a horror thriller, I guess I should say.
Yeah.
Which really, I think those are the best horror movies because again, it's not just jump scare after jump scare and loud noises and whatnot. They're usually also more well thought out, have a better story. And...
Well, I am wondering how Tay, how you got through this because I know that we know that you aren't a huge fan of this genre.
Oh, I've seen this movie before, so I mean, it was coming in. It wasn't quite as like there was things I was like I didn't remember a lot of it. I don't. But then there was times I'm like I'm pretty sure I remember this ending with everyone dead except for the one black guy, Childs, and McCready, like staring off and just both dying of exposure, pretty much. I was like, I remember that's how it ends, which helped, I guess. I don't know. I wasn't this type. I don't know. This type of movie doesn't bother me. And like I said, it's never necessarily the horror movie. It's when it's gory. Like when they were cutting their thumbs to put the blood, I couldn't watch that. I was just like, oh,
out of everything, that was the worst part for you.
That was the worst part for me.
Not the doctor reaching in, grabbing the guy's intestines.
Nah, that's an iconic scene.
Come on.
That's iconic.
That was a good scene.
But no, because they need blood, and it's like, okay, you have a scalpel, just poke them. You can get blood that way. And he's just like, no, let's just slice off half of your thumb. And I'm just like, oh,
but you need a good bit of the blood to actually get the.
You can get a good bit of blood by poking with a scalpel. That's all I'm saying. You don't need to.
The scalpel doesn't have much of a cut, though.
Are you sure about that?
That was a pretty big cut. Ugh. Gross.
Scalpels are probably the sharpest tools that a doctor uses. I mean, Nick would know better than me.
Yeah, they are.
As Nick stays quiet.
Maybe they're not.
Anyway.
How did Coco and Nick, how did this movie make you feel? Did it give you a little bit of tension in yourself, or were you guys big, strong men who don't get scared?
I felt the tension in this movie, but I didn't really get scared that much. Surprisingly, because I watched some horror movies, I watch horror movies sometimes, and I still get kind of scared by them. But this movie is like, I don't know why, but I didn't get scared. Except for that jump scare with the blood just attacks, jumps out and his hands get chopped off. That actually got me. But other than that, nothing really.
It was just suspenseful for me. I mean, I'm with Yummy. I mean, any loud noises is what scares me. The last horror movie I watched, besides Burn, if we want to bring that up, The Visit. That movie, I hated that movie because it was literally jump scare after jump scare after jump scare. I don't need that. Why do we need that? But no, this was fun because I wasn't expecting any jump scares, and I knew going through the movie, there was some parts I was like, okay, maybe a jump scare could come here, when they go down to the doctor's tunnel to see where the ship that he's building.
Mhm.
I expected a jump scare there, but it didn't happen.
To happen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're
so
building suspense.
so the suspense and it's fun. Like those kind of
Yeah.
movies I can do, but like where 5 minutes in the movie and you already have 5 jump scares, you're like, okay, I
Yeah.
don't think I can do this. Like
So that's how
and-
nowadays horror movies aren't doing that good.
They really need to learn from old movies that like you don't need a jump scare every 2 minutes or every minute. Like
Yeah.
if you hold off, like maybe you're like, oh, I'm expecting one here, and there's not one there. That just starts building the tension, and the longer you hold out on that, the more you will be affected by it.
Yeah, that's why I think that The Lighthouse is like a new classic for horror, because it was a movie that it was mysterious, it was thrilling, but it also had some comedy in it, and I think that's like the perfect combination for a current day horror movie. It wasn't like jump scares and all that. It was more so like a psychological thriller more than anything, and that's probably why I really like that movie. And kind of the same thing with this one, where it's just like Nick said, it's the suspense in this movie that really gets you. Like you feel that tension in your chest. It kind of feels like a little bit of anxiety while you're going through it. And it was like I said, it kept me on the edge of my seat the entire movie. Like just watching for the next scene. Like what's gonna happen? Don't know what's gonna happen. Because this was my first time watching it, and
My first time watching it too.
yeah, me too.
It's because you're babies.
I guess.
Well, like I said, I've seen the 2011 one, but
Okay, and I haven't seen that
you can't
one.
really compare the two because the 2011 one I think is a prequel to this movie. But like I said, it had like worse effects. It wasn't really scary. It was just kind of like bleh, nothing really interesting going on.
Does it like follow the Norwegian team or something?
I remember them all speaking English, but I do remember them. I think it did follow the Norwegian team, but they all spoke English for some reason. So
Well, yeah, because as an English speaker, you got to understand them. Subtitles. Sir.
I can't read subtitles. I am American, dumb.
Exactly.
But it also makes you wonder because there was like no like suspenseful music either. I mean, does that play a role? I mean,
Like,
I don't
you
think
had-
there was. I mean, I didn't watch this movie with my headphones on, so I maybe missed a music
it had
part or
music in the
suspenseful part.
beginning, but I think the music toned out when it was in the movie, or they just didn't play as well or something.
it was
Well,
very
I-
subtle.
Yeah, I think there was music.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just very subtle, which is, I think what you want in a movie like this is you want
Mhm.
subtle music. It just helps.
Movies nowadays are like, oh, let's turn that up way over,
Dun, dun.
way over
Like,
everything
nothing's
else.
happening, why we need it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the subtle music worked so well for this movie because it's more so you want the performances to outshine the music and
Yes.
really in every movie it should kind of be that way. I know there's some movies that are like 1917 or whatever it was, where it's like the music's gotta be so loud that it deafens the audience because also the things that are happening in the movie are also loud. But in most movies, you want the performances to outshine the music. Even though the music needs to be good, you can't have like copy paste, generic music in the background because you want people to still be entertained by every aspect of the movie. But for a movie like this, like you don't need like a 10-track score and you need the famous people coming in to write and mix the music. You just need something subtle, something that kind of sets the mood, sets the tone of the movie.
Yeah.
And once things starts picking up, then you kind of forget that there is music in it because you're more invested in the person who's acting on the screen than hearing the wah happen.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm gonna mention something at the end when the doctor even like silent kills the one dude. I mean, I'm horrible with names, but we all know what the scene where I'm talking about, where
Yeah, I
the
know.
fingers and the
fingers,
cheeks.
Yeah, that was
fingers going
gross.
to the cheeks.
Yeah.
That didn't even scare me. Like the doctor popped out of nowhere, and I'm just like, oh, he's about to die. Like that. I mean,
Well, we all
if-
figured that he would
but
come.
like movies nowadays, there would have been a loud like "Gong!" and then it's just like boo, and it's just like, oh my god.
Yeah, we don't need a sound like that scare. Like, well, say scare is good enough. It's like, oh, he's here.
Speaking of that same part, I didn't like that they didn't show the cook's death. I feel like they kind of missed out on an opportunity for something there. Maybe you
Yeah,
didn't. Maybe you don't need it, but I did want to see what happened to him. But obviously he was taken by the thing, which I like seeing Wilford Brimley's character like walk
Which one
across
was
the
Wilford
screen.
Brimley?
He was the guy with the glasses who was locked in the shack who went crazy.
Okay. I just didn't recognize him without his big walrus mustache.
Yeah, I know. That's I was
Yeah.
I was thinking the same thing when the movie started.
Like, I didn't know he was in it until you mentioned it at the beginning of this podcast. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, he looked very different back then. But like seeing him walk across the screen with the guy's face connected to his hand, like that freaked me out. Like that was
Yeah,
actually
that was
like
cool.
a really effective scene, especially with the lighting in the cave because it was all flares and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a pretty cool scene, but I'm surprised they didn't show like a little more of it. Cause,
Yeah, I was expecting to see like because the chef had a freaking flamethrower on him, you know.
yeah,
And it's not like he would have been like confused. Like it's not like the thing was already morphed with the other guy who he grabbed. Like they still would have been like trying to morph together as they explained in the beginning. So I don't know how. I just want to know how he died. Like what happened to him.
Maybe he didn't die. Maybe
That's-
he got away.
Well, I mean,
I
there's
think
only
well,
one
the,
way
Titanic
down there.
I mean, he
when
died
they
of
started
exposure
blowing up
later
the
on.
base, when they started blowing up the base, I think they blew him up. Maybe I don't know. Who knows? You could be right.
Who
Maybe
knows?
he didn't die.
Speaking
Yeah, no,
of the
he probably
exposure,
died.
what do you guys think of the science behind the cells and stuff like that they explained at the beginning?
I feel like they wouldn't have had that technology back then, but who am
They
I
did.
to say?
I believe they did.
But this actually was part of my notes because I feel like horror movies nowadays would have just kind of like
Glazed over it.
extended it and like played it out. Like the actors would have played dumb, like, oh, I don't know how you do it, and then this movie's just like, oh yeah, well, the monster takes over your cells and this is how they do it, and they show it on screen, and then it's like, oh, here's the dog cell, here's the human cell, vice versa, and it just morphs together.
Yeah, they had. I think the main reason they did that was to get the point across that the main point of this movie isn't. I mean, there's a monster, but it's the paranoia. That is the main point, I think, where they're just like, no, we want you to feel paranoid this whole movie. So we're going to explain this as quick as possible so you become paranoid.
Well, I feel like directors would have taken it, like, extended it and tried to, like, broaden it out, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I was thinking the opposite though. I think that most movies now will glaze over the scientific mumbo jumbo just to get back to the action.
That makes sense. Yeah.
It's like, how has this happened? Because that's how movies are doing it.
That's actually a really good point.
But I do like your point, Nick, that they didn't they didn't fumble around it. They got to the point and said this is exactly it.
Yeah.
They weren't like guessing through the whole movie. They kind of knew.
They knew what was going on.
It wasn't the happening of.
Yeah. All right. I'm glad you guys understood it and explained it better than my words. Go ahead.
Sorry, well, to the scene, like, kinda, but I'm glad, like, was a little suspicious of the computer, like, not like computer, like, doing anything wrong, but computer having that much info based on one data test, I say.
Yeah. I thought
like,
that he was like typing it into the computer as it went, like he was making that video for like research.
But I don't know if he was typing it in or the computer was showing it, because he looked like surprised by the video. Like he looked up at the computer screen, like looking at it. So it's like, is the computer showing it, or is he typing it in, or was like interesting. Like setting up the scene was good. I'm just wondering, is like, what's going on in the scene? Real scene though.
Yeah, I guess
that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
It's I felt like they wouldn't have had this technology back then. I mean, I guess they did because they provided it to us, but like showing like graphic image of like how the cells manipulate each other.
Well, I mean, it was an 8-bit image, not even 8-bit. I don't think it was like 2 colors.
Yes, but I guess like the way it was just like talking to the.
Okay, yeah,
doctor, I guess
the talking thing was a little.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with you.
But
it wasn't. Yeah, and I don't think the computer would have been able to talk to them. But
isn't too big of a deal, because it just said like the basic information we needed.
Yeah. I guess instead of having you read it on the screen, they were like, make sure you don't forget this. They had the computer talk to them.
Yeah.
It makes sense for an audience member. It doesn't make too much sense in the context of the movie, but
Yeah,
But
exactly.
I'm okay with it. I mean,
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
guys,
okay.
They're
like
trying to
you
make
guys said, it got to the point and they moved on, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, so this is the base of what we're dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
So, besides from the part where they're testing the blood, I think my favorite scene of the movie is when the doctor's trying to revive the big guy who collapses.
Oh.
And I like when it took me by surprise again, you know,
Mhm.
where he's going to shock him with the pads, and the mouth just opens and eats his arms. I thought that was such an incredibly well done scene too, because it flowed so nicely with the editing, and then also like it took you by surprise because you thought something was gonna happen, but you didn't know that that was gonna happen.
the dead body was going to do anything.
That was crazy, and then with the head coming off of the body, I thought that was really just so well done.
Yeah.
Now, the one thing that I kind of nitpick about it is like, why didn't the head just stay hidden and attack
Right?
after everyone was like settled down? You know, like why did it like mock them in the doorway before?
Yeah, no, I wondered that too. But like, I'm sorry, but I was getting that I wish I could remember how I felt when I first saw that scene forever ago.
Mhm.
But then I've also seen it like in like movie clips and whatnot from just throughout my life of this that's like I think the iconic scene from this movie.
Yeah, it's also
It's
been
just a
parodied.
more type thing.
It's been parodied in things like Futurama and Family Guy and stuff like that too.
Yeah.
But it's still was like
Well-
I don't know. It was a weird section there, but it was cool to see.
So this is where I kind of want to talk about like my expectations towards the movie and what they did differently, because I was expecting that head to be unnoticed, and I was like, oh, that head is gonna lead to a whole new set of like scenarios like this and that, and then I saw the head moving behind them. I was like, oh god, here we go. And then I don't know if you guys noticed it, but the way they were all standing, they had the two guys in front with the flamethrower, then the guy in the back who would have clearly saw the head, go past them. But then he ends up turning around and being like, son of a bitch, that kind of stuff. And they killed it. I was like, oh, okay, that made me feel
Killed
better,
it, I should say.
That might have been a clue because the guy that was facing the doorway would have seen it. I think he was already infected at that point. He was already a thing.
Mm.
Yeah, that could have been a clue.
Right, because it was the weed guy, right? The guy who smoked weed.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
But he ends up turning around and saying, like, son of a bitch, that and this. And
well,
Just to fool the people, I would guess.
yeah, maybe it's like oh, it's cool. Oh, it's not. Just trying to maybe like trick you or something. Who knows? But then they said kill it, but it wasn't really killed. We should know.
Well, I mean, the head was killed.
Yeah, the head was killed, but the thing's not.
Well, I guess the thing lives in us all, huh? Kind of like the Walking Dead virus, the zombie virus.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's. Nick wanted to talk about the ending. I think now is a good enough time as any.
well, I want to bring something up before they mentioned in the beginning. They say that, I forget who was it. It wasn't the main doctor. I guess you could say like the sub doctor, like the nurse. I guess. I don't know. He says that the thing only attacks when they're by themselves. So why wouldn't they just pair up and stay together throughout the whole base?
Well, they need to trio up, right?
Mhm.
Because if there's just one-on-one, somebody's
Well,
gonna get.
yeah, okay, yeah, trio up, or or just all stay together, But there
Right,
was
yeah.
many scenes throughout the movie where the guy was like, "Oh, hey, I'll be right back," and then the guy gets taken, and you're like, "Oh, well, why don't
Yeah.
they just stay with him or stick together?"
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
A lot of people started as like doubles and trios, and then like something distracts them, and they walk away, and then the other guy gets taken, or he gets killed himself.
The one I don't understand is at the end when they go do the blood test on the doctor who's been locked up in the shack. By now he's gone. They like, hey, child, stay here, and if he comes back alone, kill him. But it's like,
Yeah.
why
See,
don't you just bring him?
that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Yep. I was going to say, because there was only those three guys. Like, there was a total of 4 of them, including the doctor that was locked up. And
think
it was
total
like,
5,
oh, hey,
right?
Charles,
Yeah,
stay
5.
here. And, well, was there 5?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
if you count the doctor, 5, yeah.
Who was the 4th one then?
Well, yeah, Childs, the cook, the original commander, McCready, and the doctor.
Okay, so the guy who was sitting in the room with the flamethrower, and they're like, oh, yeah, wait here. And the 2
Yeah,
guys
it's
go
Childs.
off.
3 guys
Like-
went off.
Yeah, 3 of them. The trio
Guess
was
I don't remember seeing three.
the trio was long-haired man. Okay, let me describe them for you. Long-haired man,
I guess
Cook,
so.
and there was also the guy with the mustache, and he was older. He was the original base commander. They all three went to the shack, and Childs was the only one who stayed behind.
Okay, but still, so why did he stay behind? Because you knew something was going to happen, and sure enough, he did, because he ran out of the building, and they're like, "Hey, why is he running out of the building?" And then they just started blowing shit up. So I don't know.
Well, I guess you figure he has a flamethrower. He's told if someone comes back solo, to just burn him. I guess they weren't really thinking, but after testing the blood, they were pretty confident that no one was infected. But who knows what could happen between them now. So
exactly.
I guess that's true. All right, ending. We can go.
Yeah.
All right.
I just want to get that up.
Theories for the ending, boys.
I think the leader that took over after the crazy dude
McCready?
is the monster. Yeah, McCready. Because he was like, let's just wait here. And then there's that spoiler, I guess you'd call it. Well, I'm calling it, where they're like the monster, or he even said it. The monster wants to, hibernate and wait until the next set of people find him, and he's just like, "Oh, let's just wait here, see what happens." So I think he's the monster.
I think he's not, just because. Well, I don't know, because he's being attacked by one of the things. Because there could be multiple, and they may not get along. I don't know. But he's been attacked by a bunch of them. We've never seen him alone since the blood test. So unless he found a way to fake the blood test, I don't think he is.
Well, did they even blood test him though?
They did.
But we didn't see him cut his finger to get the blood, if I remember correctly.
That's what I'm about to say. I don't remember him doing the test at all.
No, they did. He was the third one who took it. But I know you didn't see him get the blood of everybody. I think once they showed it twice, they're like, okay, how we're getting the blood from everybody. We don't need to keep showing this.
Yeah, I guess it just wanted to add suspense in it.
I don't know, something I picked up on within the movie is he's like, hey, let's just rest here, see what happens, knowing that the other dude's probably gonna die of hypothermia.
Well, there's not much I can do though, because they're both going to die of hypothermia because they have nothing to survive with. So,
I mean, yeah, based off of that, yeah, either one of them could be, but I don't know. Since McCready or what is
McCready.
it, McCready? Did all the talking. I don't know. I feel like he was the monster. He was the enforcer, I should say.
One of them for sure was a monster.
Stay here. Yeah. He was the enforcer of we should stay here, and that kind of made me think maybe.
So here's the thing I was thinking of when the movie ended. They showed all those Molotovs that they had in the underground section, and for some reason I was thinking that when he gave the bottle to Childs to drink out of, I was thinking that it was kerosene or gasoline in there because they were making Molotovs. And maybe when he took the sip, that's why he started laughing, because the monster doesn't know the difference between gasoline and vodka or whatever he was drinking. Yeah. So that's what I was thinking. It kind of sounds silly now that I'm saying it, but
no, I think
that was what I was thinking at the end there. I was thinking Childs is was the monster because he took a drink of a Molotov, instead of because McCready didn't take a drink out of that bottle. They specifically showed him just picking it up and giving it to him without taking a drink, and he didn't take a drink afterwards either.
Yeah, no, I think that's a
it'd be good.
It's a good one.
But you think they would have extended on that?
They want to keep you guessing. They don't.
Yeah, but they never made a sequel unless it's in the 2011 one.
Well,
but I don't
look, Nick, you don't have to have a sequel. You can keep people guessing until the end of time.
Yeah, look at
it's the open-endedness of this movie that keeps the conversation going.
I guess so. Yeah.
It's
they also said they're planning another reboot.
Oh yeah, the reboot was not approved. I don't think by
planning
by
another
John
reboot.
Carver. Oh, are they? Well, fuck, they shouldn't do that.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, don't do it. The original was good enough, and the reboot he did was awful. So,
all right, Coco, lay it on us. What do you think is what do you think about the ending?
So I thought of this. Well, what I'm guessing is, well, they kind of, but I think they tried to say that it's like it was child because he got distracted by something he said, like he saw something, maybe got distracted and then came back, but it was like it wasn't. Not. I was thinking it could be both of them. I was thinking maybe both of them because I think he got attacked when he got hit when he left and went to check out something he heard, and he got it when he was facing the the thing in its final form. Final form, I should say. So maybe he got hit when he fell down. Because he pulled on him. So I think it's both of them.
It could be both of them. I thought about that one too.
Yeah, I think it goes unnoticed that the two survivors, I think it was the two, also had a tension in the middle of the movie. You know, I think it was Charles that abandoned McGritty when they went to go visit his McGritty's red office. And he was like, we let the light on. And then all of a sudden, you know, Charles comes back and he's like, oh, it's him. And then you're at the end. And then, I don't know. I just put those two together now. So I don't know. I mean, maybe it could be a completely different character.
Yeah, it was the cook. It was the cook who went out with him.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Child was still in the base.
Well, they should have done it like that then.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. You know, you don't know what's happening to these other people when they're off camera. You know, it's just that's the whole thing. Like, it keeps you guessing. You know.
Yeah. And they did skip. I want to say they did skip like a big chunk of like movie right there with them going to visit the office with the light on. Yeah. I thought that was going to be like a whole nother scene. I don't know.
Yeah, I did too.
Maybe just like to see what's happening on the other people, but I was like saying they could have showed what was going on over there, but or just to keep us guessing, I guess.
All right.
All right. Anyone else have any topics they want to talk about before we get to our final thoughts and rating?
I'm good.
No, I'm good.
All right. Since our guest couldn't join us, I guess I'll just go first. The Thing from 1982. Like I said, this is a horror movie, thriller movie that immediately rose to the top of my favorites list, especially looking at other movies that have come out recently or in the past few years in the same genre. It's so much more effective than like almost anything else that I've seen recently. Even though I got confused by what was CG and what was other things, I think that the practical effects were really, really well done. Of course, you can nitpick things, but I'm not going to because I don't think it hampered the movie experience at all. Acting was all superb. I liked the pace of the movie. Everything kind of was happening at a strong pace, and it never really died down. It kept me invested and interested throughout the entire thing, which is something that doesn't happen a lot. And it also probably, you know, it established the threat very early on, and that's pretty important to me. Is like we need to know like how dangerous this thing is, and it started off with the helicopter chasing after the dog. Even though I thought that was a little bit of a long scene, I don't think it hampers the experience at all. Like I said before. So all around, I think it's a very enjoyable movie. There's a reason why it's a classic, and I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5.
Ooh, awesome! All right, I'll go next. I do find it very enjoyable. I do want to put that out there first. But I thought the scene until the dog goes into the cage, I thought it was kind of boring and like drawn out. Like Yemmy said, the helicopter scene was a little long. I feel like they could have done that in like 1 or 2 takes, but it was like 4 or 5. I mean, I get it though. Like it was a suspense of like the dog is up to something, but once the dog, once you found out the dog was the monster, it took off running from there. So from that point on, I really found the movie enjoyable. Like I didn't know who was infected, who was the monster. Even hearing me throughout the the podcast, I was like, oh, why wasn't this and why wasn't that? And then you guys come in, with new details, and you're like, oh, because of that. And I'm just like, okay, I missed up on that thing. And that that kind of stuff makes me like enjoy the movie and like makes me kind of want to go back again and watch it and be like, okay, so Tay said this part, so I want to see his point of view, or Yemmy said this part, etc., etc. So
Yeah.
I do find those kind of movies enjoyable, and it wasn't like a jump scare, like I expected, like, the guy to be standing there and all of a sudden alien head comes, eating this guy, but that's just my movie, movies I'm used to nowadays. So I found, I wouldn't say horror, I'd say thriller and suspense, and I really did enjoy it. I'll give it a 4.5 out of 5.
All right, I'll go. I agree with everything you guys are saying. I agree. I think the dog and the helicopter thing went on a little long. But overall, yeah, it's great. The practical effects are great. The story's great. The acting is great. Cinematography is great. It is definitely a type of for me, it's a movie that like I only need to see once every few years, because I feel like every few years I kind of forget, like, wait, well, how did it go? And then it is a little more of a surprise, and so I can enjoy it a little more. So overall, I'd give it, a 4 out of 5 as well.
Okay.
Or 4.5 out of 5. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I was so good. I really enjoyed this movie. I never seen it, so I was excited. And I knew, like all I heard was good reviews when I seen. Yeah, I agree with you guys saying the first scene was a little long, and I'm like, this guy's an awful shot. I got he's in a helicopter, but this guy's an awful shot. Yeah, but overall acting was great. Like filming, and especially for a 1982 movie, this movie was really well filmed. The visual effects were great, especially in that time again. So overall, I'll say I'll give it a 5 out of 5.
All
Yeah,
right.
I mean, that's what I need to get out of my head is like I'm comparing it to movies nowadays compared to a 1982 movie.
Yeah.
So it's just like I need to get that out of my head. And
Yeah.
like I said, I need to watch it again and then go.
I could
based
watch
off
it
of that.
again.
Yeah, if I owned it, I would, but
Yeah,
I don't own
either.
it. So
Yeah, I got it on Blu-ray because I knew going into it that I'd probably want to watch it again eventually.
Nice.
Because it's interesting to go back through a movie like this, because after like the who, it's kind of like a whodunit movie where it's like after you kind of know what's going on and who's who and what's what, it's interesting to go back and kind of like see like the subtle details that they've left behind that you
You
didn't
can change your
notice.
theories too, right, for the end of the movie.
so you're telling us that you're watching Clue again?
Actually, no.
Clue is a great movie.
I would like, I mean, it was a good movie. We've already talked about it, but
Yeah.
that's not one that I'm going back to. The movie that I did go back to recently was Knives Out. I went back and skimmed through that one.
Yeah, I want to watch that one again too.
Yeah,
I was just
that was a
thinking
good
about
movie.
it when you said a whodunit movie. Watch it again. I was like, I should go back and watch Knives Out.
Yeah. That one's a little bit easier to see the subtle details than like this movie or something like that. But yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So sounds
Very
like
good.
we're all kind of on the same page here.
Yeah,
Still
good
no,
recommendation.
all of us giving the same score, but hey, maybe next time.
We're getting closer.
We're getting pretty close. So, like I said, that one was requested by one of our listeners. If you want to join Gaia Legend and be maybe one of the people who gets their movie recommended to us in the fan vote, just either comment on the latest episode of Film Freakz with a Z, or send us an email at ff.filmfreaks@gmail.com. I'll probably say it again at the end of the podcast as well. So, I have a recommendation, which we all already know about because I made sure to mention it earlier because it is a harder movie to find. But the movie is called Old Boy, and it's from 2003. It was directed by Park Chan-wook. And the description of the movie is, with no clue how he came to be imprisoned, drugged, and tortured for 15 years, a desperate businessman seeks revenge on his captors. I'm gonna butcher all these names, so just bear with me. We have Choi Min-sik, Yu Ji Tae. Tae?
Yes.
Tae's in the movie. Oh.
I didn't want to tell you guys.
Kang Hae-jung, Kim Byuk-ok, Oh Dal-soo, Lee Seung-shin, and Yoo Jin-so, to name a few. I was recommended this movie a while ago, and I didn't watch it. I forgot to watch it, and then a YouTuber that I really, really enjoy did a full review on it, comparing it to the new Old Boy, which I have not seen either. So I'm waiting on watching that video until after we watch this. So I'm really interested to watch it. It looks, I mean, it has like a pretty interesting premise. I mean, freaking guy's been in prison for 15 years. Like, God, that sounds awful. But where can you find it? Like I said, it is a little bit harder to find. I have it myself on Blu-ray, but you can find it on Blu-ray DVD. It says Amazon US, but I'm not sure if it's with a subscription service. Also, something called Subs. I think Amazon Subs. Then there's also, there's like nothing here. It's either Subs or Amazon with sub subscription.
Amazon with Shudder subscription. That's where it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I saw Shudder at it.
So are you guys excited to dive into this mystery movie? So as I was going to say, I forgot to mention this. Make sure you watch the 2003 movie, okay? And make sure you watch it with subtitles, because y'all know dubs are shit. Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
So will be interesting to watch this one, and we'll talk about it in 2 weeks, huh?
Sounds good.
Yes, sir. Never seen it, so I'm excited.
Yeah, never seen it either. Never even heard of it.
I think I picked a
I've
movie
heard of
that
it,
no one
but-
has seen.
Yeah, I'll say I've heard it, but never seen.
Yeah, there we go.
Just gonna be an exciting one.
All right. Anything else you guys want to mention before we skedaddle?
Nope.
Nope.
All right. Well, once again, thank you for listening to this episode of Film Freaks with a Z. Like I said, if you want to join the ranks of the select few who have requested movies for the podcast and won the fan vote, you can submit your movie request at by either commenting on the last episode or sending us an email. Like I said, at ff.filmfreaks@gmail.com. I am YemmytheFerret, and I've been here with
Greedy Waffle.
Animation.
Coco Gamer.
and we are Film Freaks with a Z. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.
See
Bye.
ya.
See you.